You've wondered for a long time, maybe not out loud, but inside. Was there a moment, a line crossed, a mistake, a silence that finally pushed me away? You've asked yourself, in the quiet of your heart, did I cross the point where his patience ended? You felt the weight of all the things you didn't say, didn't do, didn't become. And in that weight, shame began whispering, maybe he's done with me. Maybe I went too far this time. Maybe I've finally disappointed him. Let me speak to that fear. Let me speak to that place in you that still waits for punishment or rejection, warm and certain. There's nothing you could do to lose me. No distance, no decision, no silence, no rebellion, no failure. I didn't begin loving you because you were perfect. I chose you, knowing everything, every valley you'd walk through, every wound you'd carry, every time you'd forget how to come back, and I chose you anyway. You replay the old conversations, the old sins, the doubts, and ask, how could God still want me after all that? But hear me, I never stopped wanting you, not once. I didn't pause, my love. I didn't change my mind. I didn't stand back while you broke. I stepped closer. You just didn't feel it because the pain was loud. But I was there. I've always been there. You're not too far. You never were. This pattern continues throughout the monologue. We layer the emotion, modulate pacing, and use silence as a tool. Here are key elements added: pacing and pauses to let meaning sink in. Vocal dynamics, whisper versus intensity to reflect intimacy versus conviction. Body movement, stepping forward or leaning in at key moments to connect. Gestures, pointing to heart, reaching out symbolically. Eye contact, focus, shift, looking down for shame, then lifting eyes to reclaim hope. Repetition, repeating phrases for emotional rhythm, e.g., not once, not even once. You've wondered for a long time, maybe not out loud, but inside, if there was a moment, a line, a mistake, a silence that finally pushed me away. You've asked yourself in the quiet of your heart, if you crossed the point where my patience ended. You felt the weight of all the things you didn't say, didn't do, didn't become. And in that weight, shame began whispering, maybe he's done with me. Maybe he's disappointed. Maybe I went too far this time. Let me speak directly to that fear, to that place in you that still waits for punishment or rejection. There's nothing you could do to lose me. No distance, no decision, no season of silence or rebellion or failure has ever made me love you less. I didn't begin loving you because you were consistent. I didn't choose you because you always got it right. I chose you, knowing everything, every valley you'd walk into, every wound you'd carry, every time you'd forget how to come back. And I chose you anyway. You see yourself as a mess, sometimes as someone who should have known better. You replay old conversations, old sins, old moments of doubt and think, or if I had just done it differently, maybe I wouldn't have lost so much. That voice is not truth. That voice is not me. That is the sound of shame pretending to be logic. It dresses itself as maturity or responsibility, but it's rooted in fear, and I want to pull it out gently but completely, because it's been growing between us for far too long. You've blamed yourself for things I never asked you to carry. You've judged yourself more harshly than I ever would. You've assigned meaning to your pain that I never intended, and you've convinced yourself that your mistakes are the reason you haven't felt me clearly. But I need you to understand, I never used your failure as a reason to step back. I never once said, this is too much. How could God still want me after all that? But I want you to know this clearly. I never stopped wanting you, not even once. I didn't pause my love. I didn't change my mind. I didn't stand back while you broke apart. I stepped closer. You just didn't feel it, because the pain was loud, but I was there. I've always been there. You're not too far. You never were. I don't keep love on a scale, adjusting, based on how well you're doing. My love doesn't shrink when you're tired. It doesn't fade when you're angry. It doesn't walk out when you're confused. It holds. It remains. It knows what's underneath every failure, every choice, every silence, and it stays. I stay. There's this belief that creeps in when you've fallen enough times that maybe this time it's different. Maybe you finally pushed me too far. But I want you to know you are not powerful enough to cancel my love. You're not capable of being so broken that I can't reach you. You cannot disqualify yourself from something you never earned to begin with. My love was never a reward. It was always a gift. And I don't take it back. You may not feel worthy of this right now. That's okay. I'm not asking you to feel anything. I'm asking you to trust what I've already decided. You're still mine, still chosen, still loved. You are not defined by your worst day. You are not trapped in your last failure. You are not the sum of what you regret. You are the one I keep reaching for, the one I whisper to in the night. The one I've waited for, not to punish, but to restore you. Haven't disappointed me into distance. You've simply forgotten how close I've stayed, and now I'm reminding you not with condemnation, but with compassion. I never left. I never will. So take a breath. Let go of the idea that you have to earn your way back. You don't. You're already home. You're already seen. You're already held. There is no penalty waiting for you. Here, just open arms, just steady love. Just the sound of my voice calling you, still mine. You've been walking with a quiet weight, one you don't often name, but it lingers behind your eyes. It shows up when you're alone. It speaks when you're still. It says things like, I should have known better by now. I still know how to build from here. I'm not afraid of your mess. I'm not overwhelmed by what broke. I'm not disappointed in your timeline. You think you've delayed destiny, that you've ruined the story. But what if I told you, the story I'm writing still begins right here, exactly where you are, not after you clean yourself up, not after you prove you've changed, but now, in this moment, with the rawness of regret still in your chest and the uncertainty of what's next still fogging your thoughts. I'm not waiting for you to impress me. I'm waiting for you to let me come closer. Yes, you made choices that cost you. Yes, there were consequences. I don't deny that. But consequences are not the same as condemnation. Just because something hurt doesn't mean it disqualified you. Just because it left a scar doesn't mean it ended your purpose. I still see potential in the places you tried to bury. I still see light in the parts of you that you thought went dim for good. I know where you've been. I know the nights you wish you could rewrite. I know the words you never said, the ones you did say and wanted to take back. I know the moments you broke trust with others and with yourself. I know the version of you you've been trying to escape, and I'm still here, not tolerating you, loving you, not reluctantly, not conditionally, fully, deeply, still. I'm not distant from your humanity. I stepped into it for a reason. I lived through rejection, betrayal, loss, and loneliness, so that you would never have to wonder if I could understand what it feels like to be fractured. I do. And still, I say you are not beyond redemption. You are not too far. You are not unusable. I can build from this. I can begin again, and not with scraps, but with vision. The very parts of your life you've been hiding from me, those are the ones I want to heal. Not because I need you polished, but because I want you whole. You don't need to pretend to be fine with me. You don't need to dress up your pain before bringing it to me. Come as you are. Come with the disappointment. Come with the confusion. Come with the anger. You don't know what to do with. I can handle all of it. I already have. You keep thinking, if I had done better, maybe I wouldn't feel this far away. But I need you to stop trying to measure proximity with perfection. My nearness was never based on your performance. It was based on my promise. I said I would be with you always. I meant it. And just because you lost track of me for a while, doesn't mean I stopped walking beside you. Let me rebuild. Let me take the places you've written off as waste and make them sacred. Let me restore what you thought was too far gone. Let me show you that your story isn't over. It's just shifting. You're not being punished. You're being invited to walk with me. Not as someone who barely made it back, but as someone who was never let go. You are not a mistake. I need to manage. You are a masterpiece. I'm still shaping. And yes, I still delight in you. Even now. Even here. Even after everything. So, breathe. You don't have to earn your way back. You don't have to prove your sincerity. Just say yes. Just let me just drop the weight of the lie that says this disqualifies me. It doesn't. It never did. I still know how to build from this. And you're still someone I want to build with. You've spent so much time focused on what went wrong, what you lost, where you failed, how far you've wandered, that you stopped seeing what's still alive inside you. You've been replaying the chapters that broke you, holding them up like proof that maybe you were never really called, maybe you weren't strong enough, maybe you misunderstood me, but I see it differently. I haven't been watching the scene where you stopped. I've been watching the seed that never died. Yes, you stopped believing for a while. I know you stopped expecting anything good to come from your voice, your dreams, your prayers. You stepped back, not because you didn't care, but because something inside you whispered, maybe I got it wrong, maybe I'm just not that person anymore. But let me tell you this, I still believe in what I planted in you, and I didn't plant it for a season. I planted it for eternity. What I place in you doesn't expire, it doesn't decay because of delay, it doesn't get revoked. When you fall down, I'm not shaken by your uncertainty. I'm not threatened by your doubt. You've looked at your reflection and seen inconsistency. I've looked at you and seen endurance, the fact that you're still here reading these words, hoping maybe it's not too late. That's enough for me to begin again, because I never stopped believing in you. You stopped defending your heart, and I didn't blame you. You got tired. You took a few hits that you didn't see coming. You trusted the wrong people. You tried your best, and it still didn't turn out the way you prayed. And in all of that, some part of you stopped fighting for yourself. You gave up not in a dramatic collapse, but in quiet, small ways. You started letting your fire fade. You started adjusting to survival. But I saw that too, and while you were adjusting, I was protecting the part of you that still burns. You haven't lost it. You've buried it. You buried the parts of yourself that once reached for more, that once believed you were created to make a difference. And I get it. That dream feels risky. Now, the vision you once held feels fragile. You don't want to be disappointed again. You don't want to hope if it means you might break. But what if I told you the part of you that hopes is the part I still want to resurrect? I'm not asking you to run back into old assignments. I'm not demanding a dramatic restart. I'm simply asking you to look again at what I placed in you, that compassion you carry, that clarity you feel when you're still, that deep sense of purpose that never quite went away, even when you tried to silence it. Those aren't leftovers. They're not broken dreams. They are my fingerprints. What you've walked through didn't destroy the call, it refined it. And what you thought was disconnection was actually me doing deep work in your roots. You thought you had nothing left to give, but I've been slowly filling you again, quietly, patiently, without pressure. Because I never needed a polished version of you to move. I just needed the real you, the one who still wants to believe. So let's do this gently. Don't force yourself to have all the answers. Don't pretend the fear isn't still there. Just start by admitting that maybe, just maybe the version of you that once dreamed, that once believed, that once said yes, without hesitation, that version still exists. She's just waiting to be invited back, not by the world, not by the demands of ministry or performance, but by you. You stopped trusting yourself, and that makes sense. But now I'm asking you to trust me again, not just in general. Trust me with you, with your story, with your scars, with the parts of you that feel inconsistent, because what I placed in you was never about your strength. It was always about my promise, and my promises don't depend on your perfection. They depend on my faithfulness. I still believe in your voice. I still believe in your capacity to carry truth. I still believe in your ability to love deeply. I still believe in your creative soul. your leadership, your heart for the ones others overlook. I still believe that the world needs what I placed in you. Not someday now, not after you've proven yourself. Now it's time to pick it up again. Not the pressure, not the image, but the purpose. The real one. The one I whispered to you when no one else was watching. The one that made your heart burn before life taught you to dim it. You don't have to rush, but you do have to remember. Because I didn't change my mind, and I haven't given up on you. So take a breath. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to know exactly what comes next. Just let me remind you that what I started in you wasn't a mistake, and what I planted still lives. You may have stopped believing for a time, but I didn't. And now it's your turn again. You've been holding this quiet tension and inner dialogue that says, if I'm going to return, I need to return strong. I need to come back with something to show. I need to fix what I broke before I get close again. That pressure isn't coming from me. That urgency, that shame, that need to get it all right before you're allowed to rest again, it's not mine. It's a lie you've lived under for too long, and I want to free you from it. There is no time limit on your healing, no pace you must match, no spiritual benchmark you need to hit to be in my arms again. I'm not sitting here with a list of what you need to fix. I'm not waiting for your strength to return before I call you back. I'm calling you now, not to impress me, but to trust me, not to perform, but to be real. You don't have to rush back. You don't have to know the way forward. You just have to come honestly, not with the answers, with the ache, not with resolve, with rawness, not with everything cleaned up, but just as you are. I can handle the version of you that isn't sure how to pray anymore. I'm not surprised by your numbness. I'm not distant from your questions. You don't have to fake hunger to be welcomed. I'd rather have your silence in my presence than your eloquence outside of it. So let's begin again, not with momentum, but with truth. Sit with me as you are. Come back to me with the version of yourself you've been afraid I wouldn't accept. Let me see the tension in your chest, the disappointment. You can't shake the dullness. You don't know how to explain. Don't hide from me the part of you that thinks, maybe I just don't feel anything anymore. That part belongs here too. I'm not trying to spark you back to life with hype. I'm calling you to rest with me until life finds its own rhythm again. You've been away long enough to believe your absence changed something in me. It didn't. I'm still here, and I don't want the edited version of your return. I want the honest one, the hesitant one, the quiet one, the version that shows up without a script, that doesn't know how to worship yet, but still sits anyway, that doesn't know what to say, but still comes near. That's what moves my heart. Not your eloquence, but your presence. You don't need a spiritual reboot. You need safety. You need space to come back without rushing into activity, without feeling like you have to prove you're okay. Now you're allowed to come slowly. You're allowed to just breathe. You're allowed to let me hold the weight of it for a while, and I will not. Because you earned it, but because I love you. I never asked you to sprint back. I asked you to trust me enough to walk again, to take a step, to show up. Even if it's messy. Even if your heart's not fully in it yet. Even if the fire hasn't returned. Even if your faith still feels fragile. I don't need you to burn with passion right now. I need you to let me breathe on the embers. I need you to give me access to what's still buried, because even in what looks like numbness, there is life underneath, and I know how to wake it gently. You're not late, you're not behind, you're not less than those who seem to feel me more. You're not disconnected, you're healing, you're remembering, you're relearning the sound of my voice without guilt attached, and I'm patient for that process. I will walk beside you as long as it takes. I will whisper truth until your heart believes again. I will sit in the silence with you, not because I need time, but because I want you to know. You don't have to rush to be loved. You're not on trial. You're not under review. You're not being graded on your return. You're being welcomed, genuinely, tenderly, freely. The kind of welcome that doesn't look for posture, but for honesty. The kind that sees your trembling hands and says, you don't have to carry that anymore, just come sit with me. And when you do, when you finally let the shame fall off, when you let yourself rest without apology, you'll feel it. That I never moved, that I was never distant, that I didn't go quiet. Because I was disappointed, I went quiet. So your spirit would learn to rest again, not in noise, but in nearness. So no, you don't have to rush. You don't have to come back full of fire. You just have to come back real. That's where everything starts again. Not from performance, but from presence. And presence doesn't require perfection. It just requires you. You thought you lost me. That somehow in the gaps between your prayers, in the silence between your efforts, in the weight of your mistakes, I had pulled away, that maybe I needed space, that maybe I got tired of waiting for you to come back whole, that maybe I started moving with others and left you behind in the process. But here's the truth, we were never truly disconnected. Not even once. What you felt as distance was not rejection. It was the fog of shame, the weight of guilt, the slow dimming of your own confidence. But it was never me leaving you. I need you to understand something foundational. You don't reconnect with me. The way you reconnect with people, you're not dialing a number, hoping I'll answer. You're not knocking on a door, wondering if I'll open it. My presence doesn't work like that, because I never left. I wasn't gone. I wasn't unavailable. I wasn't holding myself back, waiting for you to qualify again. I was right here, not across some chasm you created, right here in the room, in the quiet, in the ache and the numbness still speaking, even if softly still present, even if it didn't feel like fire. That's why this doesn't feel like starting over. That's why you're not having to rebuild something from scratch, because the connection never broke. What shifted was your awareness. What faded was your trust. What got buried under the weight of your self-judgment was the simple truth that I don't leave when you fall. I lean in. I stay close. I don't need you to climb back to me. I already descended to you. And now that you're here again, heart open, even if still hesitant, I want to remind you of the truth your soul has known all along. You've always been mine. You didn't lose that. You didn't cancel that. I never stopped calling you by your real name. I never changed my tone toward you, the whisper that's rising in your heart. Now, that's not a restart. That's remembrance. That's your spirit. Waking up to what has always been true. You feared I'd be cold when you returned, but what you're finding instead is warmth, familiarity, a peace that doesn't demand a performance. That's because you're not walking back into a place where love has to be earned. You're simply standing still long enough to feel what's never left. This is why the reconnection doesn't feel complicated, because it isn't. I removed the barriers long ago. The veil was torn, not repaired. The distance was destroyed, not managed. And the only thing I need now is your yes. Not your perfection, not your plan, just your willingness to let it be this simple. You may still be tempted to overthink it, to wonder if I'm really okay with all that's happened, to ask, but don't you need me to do something to make up for what I missed? Number. I'm not holding a scorecard. I'm not waiting for some grand gesture of repentance the moment you turned your heart in my direction. Again, that was enough. That's all it ever takes. One turn, one breath, one moment of presence. That's where communion lives. And I want to build from here, not with a rush of noise, but with rhythm. Not with pressure, but with presence. I want you to experience the kind of relationship you were created for, one where you don't second-guess my voice every time things feel quiet. One where you don't assume my love pauses when your consistency falters. I want you to stop assuming silence means absence, to stop thinking that emotion equals connection. I want you to live from truth, not from sensation. Because here's the truth. You're not disconnected now, and you never really were. You just forgot how deeply I remain. You forgot how easy it is to come back, not because the path is short, but because I never stepped away. Now that you remember, everything changes. Not because I changed, but because your heart finally paused long enough to feel how close I've been all along. So don't treat this like a fragile restart, Don.